Hello and welcome back to another video. So although the celebrations for Horizon's 10th anniversary have been going on forever and would lead you to think otherwise, Forza Horizon actually turns 10 today. So although the celebrations on Horizon 4, 5 even, are brilliant, they're not quite the same as going back and playing the original. So I thought I'd hop on here today and just give you a quick kind of tour of the original game for those of you who may not have played it, or for those of you that did, to kind of bring back some of those memories of the original game. So straight away this loading screen, or kind of splash screen, will look very familiar to, well, both the players of the original game and of course players of Horizon 5, because they kind of replicated this in the loading screen of the game for the first week of this month's festival playlist, which you'll see from this was very accurate. And yeah, and moving on to this really cool cinematic that plays if you don't press play, this actually contains Mode Steps Show Me a Sign, which is one of the new musical additions to the Horizon mixtape thing, which it wasn't something I thought much of at the time, and well, it's not a great song, but it just works. It's the right era for this game, brings back the memories of playing it, and it's one of the few tracks they've added that does kind of bring back the nostalgia properly from this game, which, yes, is 10 years old today, which is hard to believe. I know Forza talking about 10th anniversary for months would make you think it had turned 10, no pun intended, a long time ago, but yeah, very, very cool game. So looking forward to playing a little bit of this today to bring back some of the memories from playing it all 10 years ago that it came out, and to hopefully show some of you that didn't play it why this was such a fan favourite. Also, despite the graphics not looking great by today's standards, this was a stunning looking game at the time, and it's just Test Drive pretty much was the only open world game up to this point, this releasing only 1 year after TDU2, rather surprisingly. So I think the only way we can really kick this off is by driving the famous Dodge SRT Viper cover car from this original game. And we're going to begin by driving over to the first ever showcase event that featured in Forza Horizon, which is of course the Mustang versus Mustang plane race. Now, the interesting thing about this car is it's actually a 2013 Viper, so at the time that this game came out, this was still not in production, this being a 2012 game, of course. But anyway, hopefully we'll enjoy a 4.3 mile drive across here. One thing I will say is that jumping straight from Horizon 5 to this, it feels very floaty. It's a lot more arcadey, this game, and it has that sort of weird yellow filter that seemed to be popular amongst older games. So the other thing you'll notice with Horizon 1 is it is quite a different looking game. 2, 3, 4 and 5 graphically are very, very similar. Yes, they've made improvements, but this was a noticeably different style, mostly because this was, of course, Xbox, not even Xbox One generation, this was an Xbox 360 game when it came out, as was Horizon 2, that's a different story. One version of Horizon 2. Anyway, yeah, in many ways it is quite arcadey. Physics is quite arcadey. There's no tuning, there's only upgrades, but yeah, it was the first kind of venture into open world for Forza, having previously only made motorsport games, of course. Anyway, 2.6 more miles to go. Hopefully we'll get over to the Mustang race quite quickly to show you what the first ever showcase was all about, and explain how it was almost added by accident. So here we are. One thing I do love here is that every showcase and every event had a proper race sign-up thing with actual people and flags and things. Small detail, but it's the sort of thing they wouldn't really bother doing anymore. And here we go, first ever showcase event. I've done this many times, but it's just really cool how it's done. There's people standing around there with cameras, the plane flying overhead, of course this Mustang, an actual countdown on a screen. Like, the people are actually on the road, which is dangerous, but quite a cool thought. The countdown was actually on the screen there. There's Wavy Arm Man, we might recognise from the newly added props and things that are in some of the Horizon 1 themed races for the anniversary update. But yet, this was the first showcase, and as I was saying, it was sort of not developed by accident, like I said, but kind of, it was one person's kind of side project. It wasn't ever intended to be in the game. There was just one of the devs back then started building this, and apparently it was particularly difficult because it was never, this engine was never intended to have anything that wasn't cars, basically. But they kind of developed it in their own time, if you like, and then asked if they could implement it, which then paved the way for all of the really cool things like this that we do in future things, and of course heavily inspired by some of the very random old Top Gear challenges of this style. Anyway, this also puts us on the very, very lovely Red Rock Road, which I think is one of the best. It's being a Mustang. Yes, as I was saying, probably one of my favourite roads. It's my favourite road in Horizon 1. Horizon 2 had the epic coast road. Horizon 3 also had an epic coast road and a really cool jungle road. But we just don't get roads like this anymore. Like, even the Volcano Road in Horizon 5, for example. It's cool, but it's all covered in drift zone. And this is, like, 3 times as long as that road. It's just so much fun. But yeah, this was very cool. The first ever showcase that kind of launched you into like one of those kind of unique elements of Horizon very, very early on. I'm really not driving very well. This is so different to how Horizon 5 feels. Although even back then, I'm pretty sure the showcases are kind of rigged so that you can't really lose. Yeah, I don't think you can actually lose these. So, as we conveniently find ourselves at the bottom of what I think is the best road in the game, I've hopped in a car that's enjoyable to drive rather than particularly fast. I mean, at the time, this was, of course, the new Ferrari. Of course, the convertible version in this game, to drive up this stunning, stunning road as the sun comes up. I think this is probably the perfect car for this. So, although this is a perfect car and road combination, this is probably a good point in the video to explain, although this game was a fan favourite, in many ways it's not as good as the Horizons of today. Mostly just because of its age. At the time, it was a brilliant, brilliant game. First of all, the graphics we've kind of already talked about were previous gen, so although it had some stunning, stunning scenery and lighting, it's not technically going to be as good looking as any of the subsequent games. Few smaller details that are missing. Cars didn't have horns. Cars didn't have number plates. We already mentioned the tuning, the more arcadey feel, so yeah, it's changed a lot, basically. I also don't think you could fast travel anywhere, or at least it cost a lot to unlock that perk, and even fast travelling to festivals cost you money. You couldn't switch cars wherever you were. So yeah, there's a lot of features and things that were not in this first game. Anyway, we find ourselves approaching the top of the Red Rock Road, and one of the Horizon outposts. So, having said how expensive fast travel is, I'm now going to fast travel to the only place you can fast travel for free, back to the main festival, where I want to take a moment to look through how the car list differs from Horizon 5. Unlike Horizon 5, this game actually has a baths in it, and an Alfa Romeo, and, well, that did get added, but lots of cool cars, including the Eagle Speedster, which we're of course getting back soon, the Gumper Apollo, and Lanciers. We don't have Lancia Deltas or Laptime Deltas in Horizon 5. We've also got a very, very cool Exige Cup 240, which is one of my favourite cars in here. And ridiculous things like ML63s and S65s. We also have roofs, because of course at this stage most games still couldn't license proper Porsches. And the SSC Ultima Aero, which was the second fastest car in the world, with Bugatti just retaking the record with the Veyron Supersports. And whilst we're here, I'm going to point out a couple more things. Most importantly, how much better the festival is here. Like, look how many people there are, stages. This whole circular central festival was a brilliant, brilliant idea, so I don't really know how it went quite so far downhill. Because Horizon 2 had amazing festivals, so did Horizon 3, to be honest. They just gradually got worse. Note the old Forza logo, though, that's quite fun. Also, while we're here, I'm going to head into the garage and show you how the customization is better. For example, Forza Aero isn't quite as bad. I'm not going to put it on because it still looks better without it. And you may notice if you go into here and do weight reduction, watch the passenger seat. It visually disappears as you reduce the weight, which is just really cool. There are a couple of cars that still retain that feature, but this was on everything. I'm using this as an example because convertibles show it better. There are also some really cool paint options. You had normal colours, which is much the same as it is now, but you could just flick across to metallic and then pick from the same colour selector, which is just so much easier than going into the stupid special colours tab and then having to make your own metallic colour. You could just choose metallic as a paint finish, which is a much better way of doing it. They also had matte paint finish, which you could then choose from the same palette of colours, and then you went on to special colours. So they had these as well, so you could pick almost any colour shift colour, which again, just having them as presets saves so much time having to faff about with colour shift. You could also edit them as well, so if for whatever reason the colour you didn't want was here, you could still go into the editor, and it's just a much better way of doing it, so I don't really understand where it went wrong. They seem to have more manufacturer colours as well, which is interesting. And we of course couldn't return to Horizon 1 without driving the Corrado. Of course, the car you start with on here, and I just really like these things after this game. Actually, does the active aero work on here? Oh, it does. I was thinking maybe a reason a lot of people have forgotten that existed was because it didn't active in Horizon 1, but it does. It's a very strange car to have that. Which brings us into Carson, the main city in Horizon 1, which, again, isn't a big city. We haven't really had one of those, apart from the Surfers Paradise in Horizon Australia. And the reason we're here is to visit, well, the equivalent of Street Scene, which is a kind of illegal car meet.
Come on up now, we are just getting started.
With street racy type characters. And the beginning of races had cool cutscenes with actual characters and things. And it just all, particularly here, felt like it fitted that street, well, illegal street race vibe. Oh no, it's a Mini Coupe. What a hideous, hideous thing. That's a car I don't miss. Also, I don't really think about it, but these checkpoints are quite interesting, aren't they? Can't miss those. There's no, like, width limit on them. I don't think. I suppose the roads were kind of walled in. It wasn't open world. So the requirement for checkpoints you can't cut wasn't really there. He's going for the overtake, taking the lead. And I'm guessing winning the race. Nearly killed a Prius in the process. And last but not least, I thought we would finish up with one of my favourite cars that's in this game that isn't in, well, any subsequent Horizon games, I don't think. Well, Exige 240, but a very early example of a first-gen Exige. Absolutely love this thing. Back when the Exige was still essentially just a Elise with a roof on top and a powerful engine. And what better place to take it than one of the other brilliant driving roads in this game, the one up to the Finley Dam. Through the town of Bunker, one of the few places where you can actually drive properly off the road, which is amazing to think this game didn't have that. So yeah, as we drive this brilliant little car up this stunning driving road, this is probably a good place to finish up, really. So yeah, although Horizon 1 was a fan favourite, like I said, there's a lot of ways it technically isn't as good as the subsequent games, although there are still a lot of features in it that weren't in subsequent games. But yeah, for the year, for 2012, this was a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant game. And although it's hard to believe it is 10 years old, when you play it, you can see it, basically. It's definitely aged. It looked amazing 10 years ago, so it is a bit mad how quickly everything moves forwards. But yeah, compared to Horizon 5, it's just not as beautiful. The landscapes and stuff are amazing, but technically they're not done as well, let's be honest. It does also go to show the jump from 1 to 2, graphically, was pretty amazing, but we've not really moved forward from there, to be honest. I suppose technically Horizon 2, 3, 4 and 5 are all Xbox, or are all limited by Xbox Ones, where this was of course limited by Xbox 360s, but yeah. It's definitely aged. I mean, that makes sense, it is its 10th birthday. But a lot of fun to return to this classic game. It is still, I don't know, it just brings back so much nostalgia playing this, even briefly. Happy birthday, Horizon 1. I can't believe you are 10 years old. And that is probably going to do it for today's video, heading back onto the classic that is the original Forza Horizon game to celebrate its 10th birthday, which, yeah, although it does look dated, it's hard to believe that this was 10 years ago. I can remember that this was the game that actually made me move to an Xbox, just so that I could play this. And yeah, I can remember it as if it was yesterday, even though it is now 10 years old. So, here's to another 10 years of Forza Horizon, although I can't say we'll be looking back on Horizon 5 in 10 years' time with, well, such love for the game. But yeah, it'll be interesting to return to this in another 10 years. Obviously, I'll play it again before then, but yeah, for its 20th anniversary, given how quickly that first 10 years since this came out has gone. Anyway, that is going to be all for today's video. I do wish Horizon 1 a very happy birthday, because it was a brilliant, brilliant game back in 2012. And yeah, whatever they do for the anniversary, it's not quite the same as returning to this. So hopefully you did enjoy this. Either of you played the original, bringing back some nostalgia from you playing this in 2012, or if you didn't, to give hopefully some idea why this is such a fan favourite. For now though, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.